Hello, brothers and sisters. How you doing? This is Rashad from Hero Productions. I wanted to give a shout out to all the DOAS, FBA people that are out there. Happy Juneteenth. I haven't done one of these videos in a little while. I didn't do one last year because I actually wanted to address Jim Crow Joe Biden turning our beloved holiday into a federal holiday, which actually I don't have any problem with that. My only thing is that, like I said in my comments on Facebook and other outlets, that Joe Biden only turned it into a federal holiday to keep us from talking about tangibles, to keep us from talking about punishing the cops and the police that brutalize us, to keep us from discussing and asking and demanding for reparations and getting that check, which the federal government is denying us, although they've given all sorts of tangible benefits to other demographics of groups within this country. And the grassroots has put a lot of pressure on the federal government. It's put a lot of pressure on these politicians. And now it's to the point where they cannot talk about any of these issues or other issues pertaining to black people, specifically DOAS, FBA black people, without first discussing reparations. So with that said, I want to give you my perspective, my point of view, just things that I've been talking about. I'm going off the cuff, so I may say little things that might be a little bit off color, so forgive me. Well, first off, like I said before, Jim Crow Joe Biden, and if you're wondering why I call him Jim Crow Joe, it's because it's a documented fact that he was an advocate for segregation while being a senator in Vermont. That's one thing Joe Biden did do, as well as write the 3 strikes crime bill, which was called Biden's Law. He bragged about it for years, as well as being heavily involved in the disparity between crack and powder cocaine. But back to the topic, not to digress. Him making the unprecedented decision to turn our beloved holiday into a federal holiday is symbolic. It's not substantive. It is symbolic for black people. Now, I don't have any problem with Joe Biden turning, or any president for that matter, turning Juneteenth into a federal holiday. But like I said before, I think it's very important that we keep our eyes on the ball and we recognize that that is not justice, that is not freedom, that is symbolism. And until we get substantive justice, we start getting the tangibles that we need and that are owed to us, that was supposed to be given to our ancestors, the ones that learned about themselves being free over in Galveston, Texas in 1865, June 19th, then the holiday, then them passing the holiday doesn't mean anything. Because the truth of the matter is, Joe Biden or no American president set up and made Juneteenth relevant for black people. We, as DOAS people, we made Juneteenth relevant for ourselves. I've been celebrating Juneteenth since I was a child. You can go and look on my YouTube channel. You'll see I have videos of me talking about Juneteenth for years. And this is one of many videos I've actually made about Juneteenth, just to check in with people. But one of the things I've been noticing that I kind of see that's problematic is the fact that, and I saw this coming with Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday. I'm seeing all sorts of perverse celebrations that have nothing to do with what Juneteenth was actually all about. I'm seeing people putting up the Pan-African flag, and it's no disrespect to my brothers and sisters from the diaspora. It's no disrespect to my brothers and sisters who are from the Caribbean or from Latin America or Europe or in Africa. I have no problem, have no issues with them. However, Juneteenth is a Black American holiday. It's an FBA, DOAS holiday. is to commemorate our struggles, our ancestors, our people. And I don't think that when they got free, they had the intentions of seeing people twerking and stripping half naked just to make a profit or make a buck. Juneteenth is not an LGBTQ holiday, which is something I'm seeing people trying to shoehorn that agenda as well into Juneteenth. Juneteenth has nothing to do with a transgender woman reading stories to children. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that at all. But I think it's very important that those of us who are directly linked to the history of this, and I include myself in this conversation, I take this very personal. I think that we should be the ones to make sure that we steer the discussion, that we take charge of the holiday, and we make sure that nobody outside of our group has a bigger say in terms of what direction our holiday should go into but us. Sheila Jackson Lee was here in Houston. I'm from Los Angeles, rocking the Dodger hat. But Sheila Jackson Lee, I'm out here in Houston. She was in a church out here in Houston leading a prayer for Juneteenth. And for those of you guys who don't know, Sheila Jackson Lee is not FBA. Her people are from Jamaica. There's no way that the people in that church should allow Sheila Jackson Lee or any person who's not FBA, DOAS to sit up and to lead any kind of discussion when it comes to Juneteenth, because it is a Black American holiday. It deals with our history, our struggle. Sheila Jackson Lee, that's not her history. I'm not saying that she doesn't come from a history that's similar, because she does, absolutely. But it's not her history. It's our history. And we have to make sure that people understand that and stand up and make sure that we lead the discussion in terms of what Juneteenth should be about. Not about any of these subversive elements, not about people that are trying to push their own agenda, not about companies who are trying to figure out a way to make a buck and profit off of it, but we're the ones who should steer the discussion and the culture of this, because it's about our ancestors, our freedom, our struggle. And the people that do not push and support their advocates will find themselves with no advocates. And if we don't stand up and we don't sit up and we don't push to control Juneteenth, we're doing a disservice to all of our ancestors. We're doing a disservice to the people that came before us, and we have to make sure that they're not disrespected, because they went through the hell and the decadence of American slavery here in this country. You had Black men that died on battlefields here in Texas and in other parts of the South, fighting for us to get free. And let's be clear, Black folks are free in this country not because of Abraham Lincoln. We're free because you had Black folks, Black men particularly, that took it upon themselves to fight stridently on the battlefield to make sure that we got free. The tide of the Civil War did not change until you saw the enlistment of all of those Black soldiers. And when the conversation in the war became about slavery, and you had Black men out there that was putting fists to mouths and boots to asses, then that's when everything changed. And us not commemorating Juneteenth and celebrating it the way that it should be celebrated and commemorating them, we're doing a disservice to all of them. I think other groups of people wouldn't allow others to bastardize their important holidays and their struggles. And we have to do the same thing. So I'm saying what I'm saying, not to sit up and to go after it and create enemies, although I probably will by saying what I'm saying, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I'm saying this as a tribute to all of our ancestors that came before us, that brought us to where we are today. And those of us who are here today, we have to keep up that same entire momentum and that struggle for the next generation. That's how things work. You can't call yourself a man, you can't call yourself a woman if you're not willing to sacrifice for the generation that comes behind you. And part of that sacrifice is standing up for the integrity of Juneteenth. It's not about twerking. It's not about debauchery. It's not about LBGT activism. It's about FBA, DOAS activism. That's what Juneteenth is about. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys all are having yourselves a nice holiday, and I hope to speak to you soon. Take care. Ashe.